Hi, this is Dr. Soraya, and this is part of my Psychiatrist Comments on Psych Med series. But for any of you who've been watching lately, you've noticed that I've departed from talking about medications specifically and just moved on to talking about broader topics related to psychiatry and mental health. And for those of you who are hoping to hear about medications, please go ahead and comment below on any medications that you'd like me to cover, and I'll do that in a future video. But today I'm going to talk about some details on how to go about looking for, finding, and choosing a therapist. I don't think I'll be able to get into a detailed step-by-step in the context of this video. If that's something that people want, again, please comment below and I will make a more specific step-by-step guide. But these are just some guidance on how to go about finding a therapist. Let me preface it by saying that I understand that not everything that I'm going to mention is available and accessible to everyone, but for those of you who it is accessible for, a lot of times I find people don't take advantage of the resources that are there. So I'm going to go through what I think are some of the best ways in general. And if it's not available to you, I'm sorry about that. But maybe on down the list, there's something that can be helpful. So, and again, I practice in the United States, so all of this is going to be largely applicable there. But again, lower down, there's some general principles to help you out that may be useful. I understand that in a lot of places, there are not many therapists available. So basically, if you can get in to see anyone, that's going to be the only option available. And hopefully that's evolving and improving in general. I think with services being provided online, I think that's probably going to increase accessibility for people around the world, and I think that's great. I believe I've commented on teletherapy in the past, and I will make future videos about that. But again, this is a general primer on how to find and choose a therapist. So some of you may be surprised to hear a psychiatrist talking about this because you have the impression that psychiatrists do not provide therapy, but that's not the case. Certainly there are certain psychiatrists, possibly many psychiatrists, who only meet patients to prescribe medication and deal with the medical side of mental health. But it actually doesn't take any specific certification to call oneself a therapist. So generally speaking, anybody who does call themselves a therapist is going to have gone through some kind of training in providing one kind or more than one kind of therapy. But there is no specific certification that's required. Anybody can bill themselves as a therapist, and so it's not limited to psychologists or social workers or substance use counselors or any specific degree. And many psychiatrists, probably the minority, but there are psychiatrists out there who do provide therapy. The downside is that generally psychiatrists are going to charge more. So from that perspective, it may not be the best option for everyone. But just wanted to clarify that psychiatrists do provide therapy on a case-by-case basis. So, but sort of back to the general idea of looking for a therapist, I would say the first thing and the best thing to do is to leverage your own network. And now you may not feel like you have a network. Now, I guess it's really obvious if you happen to know a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a social worker or someone in the mental health field, that's an obvious person to start with. I would say that, certainly speaking for myself and pretty much every professional that I work with, we like connecting people with treatment. So we are going to be receptive to requests, generally speaking, on some providing some names or some guidance for anybody looking to get into therapy. So you should not hesitate, in my opinion, to reach out to anybody you know. Now, you may not obviously realize or have somebody that you know is into mental health field in your immediate network. I would invite you to go on your social media connections and search for people who may be connected to you on LinkedIn or other platforms, and then approach them individually. Even if you don't have a strong direct relationship, explain your connection, explain that you're looking for a therapist in your area or online, and I think it doesn't hurt to ask. They may not respond, they may say that they don't know anybody, but I think that it's worth at least putting the request out there. So once you've sort of exhausted professional connections, I would recommend asking the people that you're somewhat close to, again, directly, find out if they see a therapist. You'll probably end up being surprised at how many of the people in your own network actually do see a therapist, but they just don't talk about it. So that's another way to kind of get access to a direct network, is ask your close connections, have they ever been in therapy, or do they know of a good therapist? They may not volunteer that they themselves have been in therapy, but if you explain that you're looking to get into treatment, first of all, that lowers the bar in terms of them disclosing that they have had treatment or know of someone who's had treatment. And then if they have a personal connection, they can either provide that name to you, or if they're still in therapy, they can ask their therapist if he or she knows of anybody who's taking on new patients. And I find leveraging your own network is often the best way, because it's going to be well matched to you in terms of your general kind of context, your geographic area, and other things that are going to be well matched. So the people in your network are often going to be a good filter for you connecting to somebody who's a good match for you. So once you've actually gotten some names, my recommendation is then to set up at least a phone call, but ideally a first appointment with at least 3. I think 3 is generally a good number. I say at least, but I wouldn't really invest the time to go beyond that. But I think 3 is a good number of therapists to interview and to figure out kind of who clicks with you the best. And that will be kind of both an introduction but also an education process. You can hear about what 3 different people in the field offer and describe in terms of what working with them will be like, and you can get a general idea of what people are offering and providing, and then kind of go with your gut in terms of who seems to be a good match for you. And then from there, I think you just pick somebody and try to stick it out. Again, the advice that I give to people is try to stick it out for 3 to 6 months. I know that may seem like a big investment, but that is generally the minimum amount of time I think it takes to kind of really get a sense of what it's going to be like to work with somebody. And then I think within that time frame, you can start to experience some of the benefits of therapy, like actual palpable benefits. So I think that's kind of a good rule of thumb. So this is getting to be a longer video, but those are some initial thoughts on how to go about searching. I didn't really get to kind of going on down the list beyond leveraging your own network, but I think that's a good starting point for most people. And I think if you're looking for therapy, this is a good way to kind of get started, and I wish you luck. Again, if there's something specific you want me to comment on, please comment down below. Thank you.